From Heart to Hanger is where fashion tales come alive. Dive into the personal stories of people from the fashion world, designers, style lovers, and fashion influencers.
Discover how life experiences shape our style through everyday conversations, explore fashion trends, and embark on a self-discovery journey to find your own style. Be part of a lively community where sharing the love for fashion is the everyday style.
It's your backstage pass to the playful, fashion-filled journey from the heart to the hanger. It's more than just about clothes. It's about the magic of fashion that binds us all. Get ready to be a part of the story where every episode is a runway of ideas and stories waiting to be shared.
Hey fashion lovers, it's Britt Smith back here with Paige Andreas, and we are on week 6 of the podcast.
Yeah, I can't believe it's already been 6 weeks. I feel like time, we were texting about this the other day, like time just is such a weird concept nowadays. Like once you have kids, it's like those days are long
but the years are short.
Yes. It's totally true. And people always tell you that. They're like, when you as you get older, time flies by, and it really does.
I know. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like we could hit the nail or beat the nail over the head with that one. I feel like that's just the cliche thing to say to all new parents, but it's so true.
It is.
Okay, so this week we are taking the listeners behind the scenes and telling them what it really and truly means to build a collection behind the scenes of it all. So I'm super excited to learn more about this process. I know it's a ton of work.
Yes.
Blood, sweat, and I'm sure tears.
Yes, lots of tears.
Happy tears, I hope, too.
Yeah, good and bad.
Yeah. So can you just maybe start us off with, where do you even begin? What does it take to start this whole process? And from, I don't know, maybe in a nutshell, I don't know how in detail you want to get right off the bat, but from beginning to end, can you sort of paint a picture?
Yeah, I'm actually excited we're talking about this today because, as a lot of you know, if you follow on social media, we basically started this 2 years ago now. And I think a lot of people are kind of like, are you still doing your brand? Like, what's going on? And I do try to share behind the scenes, but people always joke that are in the industry, it's not as glamorous as you think it would be. Right. So there's a lot of non-exciting things that have to get done. So I guess if you want to just go right back to the beginning. So one of the previous episodes, we kind of talked about how Keegan and I thought we'd learn to sew, and we had no idea what we were doing. So after some research, we realized that what we needed to find was a development company. So what that is basically they take you from start to finish. So you show them your ideas, your sketches, and they take that idea and they turn it into a tech pack. And from a tech pack, they turn it into a sample. And from a sample, then you get your final sample. And if everything's perfect on it, down to labels, tags, finishings, zippers, etc., then you go to production. But they are the ones that they have the trusted relationships with the manufacturers and the production companies and their suppliers and everything. So they already have those connections. So that's going to get you better deals. By all means, you could go out and source your own fabrics. You're going to get charged a lot more. You might have a lot of issues along the way because you're basically like a little grain of sand in the ocean, right? You have to really build up that credibility. So having the development company definitely helps with that. It is a little bit pricier to go that route, but I think you save yourself time in the end. Mm-hmm. So I guess just a little insight. One of the reasons we have taken so long to get to market is we have explored a few different development companies, and we've definitely learned and grown from each one. But I think getting started, you just have to you have to know it's probably going to take a lot longer than you expected. And we talked about that last time. It's going to take a lot more money. And just definitely, if you are planning to start, make sure you like save up before you have a plan, and just start way in advance than when you think you would have to. So we can talk about my first collection.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we can use that as an example. But so the development company is, I guess, if you're going that route, very crucial in who they choose as manufacturers. Or do you get to sort of, once you pick a development company, do they have a bunch that you can choose from, or how does that work?
Yeah, so for me, like the first company we worked with was out of Vancouver, and I really wanted to have my items made in either like Europe or South America, and they were 100% open into looking into those places and using those suppliers and manufacturers. However, they didn't have that existing relationship. So they will tell you, you just need to be aware that we won't get as good of prices. We can't guarantee quality because they haven't built that relationship.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, some will have like multiple, like the company we're working with out of LA right now, they have like 13 or so different manufacturing companies. So they really have lots of options, and they source from all over the world.
Okay.
So
quick.
Yeah. Yes.
Why did you what did you say South America, and what was the other place?
And Europe.
Okay, so why?
Because I feel like when I think of Europe, I think of really great fashion. I just have always been really inspired by their aesthetic. But I also just feel like the quality that comes from there, any item I've ever owned that was made in Europe has always been like hands down amazing quality. And then South America, we went there for our honeymoon, and the leather was like exquisite, and it was way more affordable.
Okay.
Like it was insane. And I forget why. I was talking to a girl that owned a boutique down there, and I think it was just because it's like so accessible for them. But once again, everywhere in the world, you're going to have places that are like trustworthy to do business with and ones that aren't. And if you don't have that existing relationship, it is a little bit of what do they call that, icy waters.
Right. Yeah.
So I guess if we just go right back to the fundamentals, if you want me to walk you through this, first step is coming up with an idea.
Okay.
So you got to figure out, you got to basically start at a drawing board. So anything, when you have a vision, a good way to start is like with a dream board or Pinterest board. And you just gather a bunch of things that inspire you. They don't all have to be clothes. They could be art. It could be paintings. It could be buildings. It could be blankets, anything that you like gather inspiration from. Kind of come up with like a color theme, a story. They always call it like a visual story. And like get all your brainstorming down. And then from there, just start sketching. Like sketch. Like as many possible sketches as you can do. And then from there, you kind of want to edit it down to the pieces that you feel like best fit like your target audience, like that kind of work together and can create the most outfits. And so that would be the first step in like the design.
Okay.
But then you also have to think about your name, your brand. So you're going to want to, is it a trademark on your name?
Yeah. Or a patent?
A patent? Trademark.
I don't know.
I should know this. This is what my husband does. You know, that
Shout
part
out to
of it.
Keeks for doing
that work. I do know we dealt with lawyers.
Yeah.
So I believe it's the trademark. Yeah. So that no one else can use your name. And then, and obviously on your design as well. And then we came up with a...
wait, you mean a trademark for the design of your...
The logo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, we'll get into, you just made me think of something. But, and then we also came up with the slogan, fashion that inspires. So we trademarked that as well. Cool. And then of course you have to think of like accountants for like all the financial parts of your business. So you got to get all that into play. And but you made me think, so you can't actually trademark like any styles.
Oh, okay.
And you also can't. So when I was sharing my sketches with different development companies, we really wanted to get them to sign some sort of like agreement that they couldn't share them or use them. But apparently in the fashion industry, it's very kind of like everyone does the same thing as everyone in a way. You can't actually own it as yours unless you create like a technology.
Okay.
So like say you created some sort of like insulation in a jacket that you like created yourself, then you could probably like patent that. But yeah, otherwise it's just kind of, you'll notice it like every brand, especially if you look at big brands, the more research I do, the more overlap you see. Like it's actually
so everything is sort of borrowed.
It's sort of, yeah, and it's whether it's borrowed from previous years and now it's coming around again, or somebody comes out with something and it is like instantly everyone's like, we need to get on that.
Right.
That is, and then everyone makes their own version of it.
Okay.
So I also find that sometimes a little bit complicated. Like I'm trying to come up with different things. So like taking that idea that's popular and making it your own, I guess is important.
Like putting your little twist on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So you have your name, your trademark, your lawyers, your accountants, all of that set up. Your bank account for your business account, all of that. You have your collection drawn out, and then you meet with the development company, and it has to be a good fit on both ends. So you kind of like do interviews with each other.
Okay. And
then once that is decided, like that you're going to go with one another, you get together. If you're in the same city, that's amazing. But we did it over a Zoom call, and you just talked about like, you tell them about yourself, you tell them about your vision, you tell them about what inspires you, what makes you different, like just so they can really get to know you. You really want them to be like on the same page as you.
Right.
Like the more they understand you, the more they can help. And from there, they make a tech pack. So what a tech pack is it's basically anything to do with the garment. So like colors, measurements, stitching, the pattern, the lining, the buttons, the zippers, like any possible detail goes into the tech pack.
Okay.
And this is what they use to actually turn it into a real item, right?
So you create the tech pack for them?
So I don't.
Okay.
The development company does that. So usually within the development company, they'll have people that do kind of each job. So there might be someone who sources the fabric. There might be somebody who builds the tech packs.
Gotcha.
The company we're currently working with, they actually do it a little bit backwards, and I like that. So they build a 3D rendering of your design first, and then we go back and forth. So she'll send me the 3D rendering, and I'll say, I like this, but I want the shoulders to be broader. Can we shorten the sleeves? Can we move the button? Okay. Then she redoes the rendering. Once the rendering is exactly how I envisioned it, then she makes the tech pack for it.
Okay.
So rather than doing a tech pack and then doing the 3D rendering and then having to redo the tech pack. So yeah, it's really good because you can actually get a really good, and a 3D rendering is just like literally like a 3D visual of your item on like a sort of like a mannequin style body.
Okay.
And you can like turn it around, see the top, the bottom, all the angles. It's super helpful. Yeah. So then once the tech pack is done, you have to I have to approve it, which is always sort of scary because you're like, I know visually what I want and I know all of that. But when it comes down to like this is 0.5 of a centimeter and this stitch to this stitch, it's kind of like you really have to have that good relationship with your development company and put your trust in them, because I don't know that. Right. And you could also hire people to like cross-check your tech packs, which we've learned now. I did not know that at the time. But you can have another company like look through it and make sure that it's all good, because you're going to save yourself a lot of time down the road.
Just fresh set of eyes, I guess.
Exactly. So then once the tech pack is done and you have approved it, then you go into your sampling phase, which is for me the most exciting, hands down. It can also be the most disappointing, but it is so exciting. It's like Christmas morning times 1,000, because that's when you get to see what you created come to life. So you get shipped the samples. I missed a step. Well, let's backtrack a little bit. Prior to getting the samples, they actually send you samples of the fabrics.
Oh, okay.
So you're sent like different leather swatches, different wool swatches, different cotton, whatever it is, different colors.
And this is all coming from a place where you know where it's coming from, that you've chosen.
Yeah.
From.
That the development company works with. Yeah. So so for instance, for the jacket you're wearing, I wanted pebbled leather. I want it to be like silky soft, high quality. So basically they sent me several swatches. They were different weights, different textures. Some had lots of pebbling, some had a minimal. They even sent me like a smooth one, shiny, whatever.
Oh my gosh, so many decisions.
Yes. So then from there I narrowed it down. And with every fabric, like the cashmere, the ribbing was like wider on some of them, etc. So then once you've selected your fabric, the tech pack's complete, then you go into the sampling.
Okay.
They send you your item that should look as identical to the tech pack or drawing as can be. However, there is usually does at least take 2 samplings. So you get it back, you make all your changes on it that you don't like, you make note of it, then you jump on another Zoom call, and you give them all your feedback, and from there then they do another sample, and then hopefully this time it's like perfect. And if it is, then you go into what is the top of production. So each company does it a little different. We were trying to get our stuff out for fall 23, and we have been delayed, but we needed, in the fashion industry, everything happens a season prior. So you will be selling and showing your fall collection in the springtime.
Okay.
Right? So spring 23, we had to show our collection to stores who are buying for fall of 23.
It's so crazy.
Yes. So we took our first samples and we booked our photo shoot. So we booked it in LA. I literally got the coats the night before. I had never seen them before. So I was like, please let these be perfect.
Right.
Please let these be perfect. And they were, thank goodness. So yeah, we were able to do our photo shoot with the first samples because they were actually really good. So yeah, so you get your photo shoot, and I'm trying to remember if like this is part of a next topic. So I'm just going to leave the photo shoot because I feel like that's a whole other thing, because that's a whole lot of work as well. But from that, then you have your like visuals. You can start building your website, your social media pages, advertising, all of that. And then the next big step is you have to design everything down to like the care label, the size tags, your branded tags, your hang tags, the size, the shape, the color, the font, what you want it to say, what languages you want it to say, like so many things. So then we used a separate company to do that, and they sent us different types of like labels and hang tags, and then we picked our favorite from there. They did it up, sent it back to us. So it's sort of like a sample, like you would for the clothes, but for tags.
And I'm sure that's a lot of work, knowing where to put them on different pieces. And
exactly. So what I did was I picked a few of my favorite brands, and then I pulled pieces that I liked from each thing. I even designed my own leather patch for the back of the denim. Cool. The button, even on the little rivets, they're called, on the denim, that are kind of like on the
like on pants, are you talking about?
Yeah, on denim. They're like these little buttons. They're called rivets. Anyways, those are like branded. So it's like, where are you going to place the logo? So there's like so many that actually went on and on and on for weeks till it was right. So it's something you think so small.
I never would think about the tags and clothes.
But it took like 2 months. So it's like, okay, now we're delayed again. So it's just like so many things. And then they came back and they weren't attached in exactly where I wanted them. And then this is an upgrade because I'm picky and I want like a leather border on it. And I just want everything to be elevated, right? So Yeah, so once that's done, you will get a top of production sample, which is essentially it will look identical to the item that you're selling. So it'll have all your tags attached, your hang tags. It should look perfect, like just like the finished item. And then you approve it, say, yep, let's move forward. And then you go into production.
Okay.
And with production, there's like minimum order quantities. Every company's different. It could be anywhere from like you have to have like 500 units of one style, 1,000, 100, depending. And then, of course, then they have to buy the material, and then you go into production. So it's like you usually have like all your material paid for prior to obviously going into production, and all your finishings, like your buttons, your snaps.
Okay.
So yeah, we're kind of right in that spot right now. We're just waiting to approve our last sample before going into production.
Okay, that's
So
exciting.
yeah, it's like a lot. And there's so many other things too that have happened. Like we've met with consultants in the fashion industry. We've worked with different marketing companies, different advertising companies, people who deal with like all sorts of like analytics, website developers. Like it's been, there's just so many things.
I know. I feel like this day and age too, like you have to be on all the platforms. I feel like it's like I have a hate-love relationship with that stuff, but I feel like as a brand, if you're not on those things, like, are you even real?
Right? Exactly. And I always say that's like, for me, I would say if someone was to ask, like, what's your biggest worry, kind of like breaking into the market, is like legitimacy. Because I don't know about you, but I get so many ads sent to me on my social channels, and then I click into them and I'm like, I love this, but it's like, does this company even exist?
Right, yeah.
Is it crap and it just looks good? Is it a photo taken from another website? So I'm like, because we are a newer company, we only have a few items to choose from, and it's like you really have to work to like build that
Right.
that brand and that trust. So I feel like that will be like the biggest hurdle.
Totally.
So that's why we're going to be doing like trunk shows and pop-ups, and having like influencers representing the brand and people we know, and just like as many ways to build the brand.
Yeah. Because your elevated lines are not they're not cheaply made.
Yes.
So they're obviously not going to be cheap to buy.
Right.
So how do you
like a big
compete
risk.
with, I might be going off topic here, but how are you, like what would you say above that hurdle, like competing with these other higher end luxury brands that have already like built a name for themselves? Like how do you like, does that scare you a little bit, or are
100%.
you?
Yeah, it totally does. I think at the end of the day, it really comes down to, I think, the plus side of buying a more like luxury item from a smaller business is you're still super in control of every step of the process. And you know that the quality is going to be there, and that somebody, a real person, is right there being like, switch this button, do this. Once those companies get so large, it's very like mass produced. And I don't like hold me to this, and I'm not going to name any brands, but what happens is the larger you get, the quality does go down, but you've built that name for yourself. So it's kind of like people are paying for the name.
Right.
But I've just noticed that it's like the quality does take a hit because they're mass producing, and things just change. So
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, I love that because there's I feel like people forget that there's a human side and element to all of this, especially when you just, the consumer goes and buys things, right? We're not thinking about the people on the other side of the brands,
Exactly.
really. So I like how you brought that up and just brought that element into it, because you are obviously shopping small and local, and you know that attention to detail and that passion is in there. And I feel like the big brands, like I'm sure the people that started them aren't still doing them. They're like freelance designers that are, or I don't even know what they're called, but other designers that come in and do certain collections and stuff like that.
And I mean, sometimes the person who started it still like is obviously involved in the company, but there's no way they could oversee everything, right? They have people doing different tasks. So like that meme says, every time you buy from a small shop, they do a happy dance.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah, I bet. Okay, so thank you for walking through that. That's quite the
Information overload.
there's a lot of steps to it, and I mean, I knew that when I asked it, but thank you for painting that picture. It's a lot of work, for sure. And so my next question is, how do you balance like the creative side with the practicality side when designing a collection?
Yeah, so I feel like, I mean, it's partially the way that I like to dress, is not like super out there and crazy, but is really important that my items are wearable. Because there's one thing I don't know if you know this, but a lot of times big designers, the collections they show on runways are like, it's more like art.
Okay.
And then the version that comes to the store is different. Right? So it's like downplayed.
Yeah.
So I feel like if I ever get the opportunity to do that, obviously you want to go big, you want to create a show. It's all about like the art, the drama of it. But I try to keep my designs like very wearable every day, but still being like unique and stand out.
Yeah, I never really thought about that, but it definitely is art.
Yes.
And those big name brands can be crazy a little bit. I think we talked on the last podcast episode about how you would never see those, or never see people wearing these like weird things that you see on runways, right?
Totally. And I think you can like get exclusive like off the runway items, but I feel like it's very like niche. There's usually like another version of it that's a little more like everyday wearability. Yeah. I think I'm just making up words.
That's okay.
It's my favorite thing to do.
Okay, so you have completed one collection, correct?
Yes.
And you're now on the second.
Yes. So we are like currently our knitwear collection is up and running. It's available online. We're actually doing a trade show next week here in Calgary, and so that's all completed, ready to go. The very first collection that I designed, we still haven't received our items yet because we're on the final phase.
Okay.
Prior to going to production.
Okay.
So.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I'm actually working on the spring collection for the knitwear as we speak. I have all my designs, so we're about to jump into the tech pack stages.
That's fun. What's your favorite part of that whole process? Do you have one favorite?
Oh my goodness. Well, I love designing. Like drawing is
right.
I absolutely love that. But I pretty much love anything that has to do with the design. So, and it's always like I said, it's like Christmas every time I get to see something. So like getting the first 3D image back, getting the first sample back, seeing the models wear the clothing. Like it's seeing things come to life. That's my favorite part.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. So next question, has there been a most challenging, challenging aspect that comes to mind when you think about this process, or maybe there's been a rewarding part to it that you want to share with the listeners?
Yeah, I mean, there's constant challenges. I feel like you have to be like your biggest advocate. Like in the fashion industry, it's kind of like as a designer, you're always gonna be wrong. Like you're the small person in the big C. So you really have to stand up for yourself and say like, this is what I want. This is my design. And not just like accept, like we could have went to production like a year ago.
Okay.
But I am not happy with it yet. And so I'm not.
To be perfect.
Exactly. So, and I mean, I know nothing is perfect, but it will be as perfect as it can be. So yeah, I would say like, obviously those have been the biggest challenges, is just like communication. Communication is huge. It's like, and it's just, I like to tell this story kind of to compare. I used to do hair, and I always, like, every stylist is different, but I loved when people came in with a photo, because the way someone imagines that they're going to look in their head isn't always translated to the stylist.
Right.
So just because you want Jennifer Aniston's hairstyle, it doesn't mean you are going to look like Jennifer Aniston in the end.
Right.
You know? So I like communication is just so important, right? Because like red to me might not be the same as what you see red to be. So it's like the more clear you can be, give all the details, like communication is huge.
Right. You probably have to be a bit of a micromanager.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And you need to like constantly be following up. And I always have to remind myself, like I am one of their, I don't know how many clients, could be thousands of clients. So you always have to be like on top of things. But yeah, I would say the biggest challenge is definitely communication.
Yeah. For sure. Okay. So I guess with that being said, would you say like a team dynamic between you and this development company is something that you need to build in order to have that vision really come from paper to,
Totally. Like you really have to, actually the girl that is building my tech packs currently and doing the 3D, her and I really do have a great relationship. She is very, I don't want to say she can like read my mind, but when we talk, she definitely knows what I'm saying and where I'm going with things. And that makes a huge difference. Like, and you also want them to be able to provide you feedback. It's like my specialty is coming up with the design, but my specialty is not the proportion of like the end silhouette because I have never sewed clothing. So it's like sometimes my ideas aren't realistic and I need you to tell me that. Keegan and I always joke, it's probably good how like naive we are because it allows me to create things that maybe weren't possible, but now they're going to try to make it happen.
Right.
I'm sometimes like, but could you just try that? She's like, well, I guess so. And then I sometimes end up loving it. So I'm like,
okay, that's cool.
But it's because I don't know like the technical ways that they're taught in school of like how to sew a garment, right?
Cool.
So I'm like, oh, why can't you do that? It's like, well, there actually has to be a seam there.
Okay.
But it looked good the way I drew it.
I love that. So yeah, you're kind of making a twist to certain things and pushing the boundaries maybe on what can and cannot be done.
Exactly. Just because I'm like oblivious to how the proper way is.
Well, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to ask like, so why didn't you just sort of fall into like this freelance designer career? Like I'm sure you could have, or maybe you have done it a little bit. And what made you just want to dive right into doing your own collection?
Like just going full in.
Yeah.
It's honestly always been a dream of mine. And I'm just one of those people, it's like, go big or go home.
Right.
I want to do something for myself. I wanted to be my own boss. Like we talked about in one of the previous podcasts, all the different jobs I've had and different career paths. And at the end of the day, I feel like the thing that I wanted most was to be in charge of my own like life, I guess, and to have that freedom and creativity to do exactly what I wanted. So yeah, did that even answer your question?
No, it did. I was just, curious. I'm like, this just seems like so much work.
Yes. Rather than getting hired to design for like an established brand. There's just, I don't know. There's something really cool about just doing it yourself. I mean, so stressful, very, very scary. I mean, you can't, at the end of the day, you can't force people to buy your clothes. You can't guarantee you're going to sell through them. So it is a huge risk, but I'm here for the ride.
Yeah. And this is your passion. And why not, like you said, be your own boss and create something that you want to create rather than, you know, maybe if you are a freelance designer, you would have to you would follow their rules and
you would definitely have guidelines.
Okay. So is there anything else like maybe unexpected to building a collection that that you might not have mentioned that people aren't aware of?
I think just honestly everything that goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Like totally had no idea. Yeah. Like I literally thought that it would just be like a couple months start to finish. But yeah, it's proven not to be.
It's a lot more work.
Yes.
Well, I think you have created some very inspiring pieces, and I can't wait to see more of them as they come in and are finished.
Thank you. Thanks for being such a good model. I mean, you make everything look amazing.
Oh my gosh, you're too kind.
You do, though.
But like, I feel like I'm a parrot just repeating myself, but this is my favorite part of the podcast, that I get to dress up in your designs. One last question before we go. We talked about being a micromanager, but is there any other advice that just being like staying true to your collection, your vision? I almost feel like it's like relating back to like movies, the director and the producer.
Yep.
That relationship has to be so tight, because if the producer has this idea and the director is not fully understanding what that person is seeing, that will not be brought onto camera.
Exactly.
Right? So it's sort of like the same thing with you and this development company.
Yes, 100%. Right? I think like relationship is huge. And I think for most designers, you're going to like pivot and build new relationships and continue to search till you find that perfect fit.
Right.
So
yeah, so you're always evolving and making it better,
and they have to also be like willing to meet you halfway, right? It's hard to be a one-sided, like you care so much and then you want them to care too, right?
For sure. Yeah,
So.
you want them to care like more, maybe,
Exactly.
you know. We won't get into the whole sustainability thing because that's a whole, I feel like, another podcast topic. But I just wanted to touch on that you are very passionate about making your collections eco-friendly and sustainable. So that was a huge decision factor in choosing the development company that you went with.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you touch on just a little bit about what the eco-ness is about? Just we don't have to go too broad, but I just want people to know that buying your collection is also helping the environment with less waste.
100%. I mean, I feel like in today's world, I mean, you have to be, you want to be, but you need to be on this path of like creating less waste. Like the fashion industry is a huge part of like an incredible amount of waste. So it was really important for me to create a collection around something that is not fast fashion, that's going to be high quality, that you're going to be able to pass down maybe to your children even, that will live in your closet for a long time. Like I want you to live in these pieces. Like I want them to be your favorites, right? So with that comes finding companies that also believe in the same thing. And our knitwear company that we're working with out of Brooklyn, it's just amazing. They're using this new technology, which is the 3D knitwear machines. It literally creates zero waste and no inventory. So like a lot of times, like, I don't know, a brand could create thousands of a certain design and then it's not a hit. They miss the mark. Where does it go? A landfill, right?
So sad.
Because especially if you're a big name brand, you're never going to blow those out at a decreased price because you don't want to damage your name. So you're never going to find like, this is completely random, but you're never going to find like a Louis Vuitton on sale for $1,000 because it wasn't a big hit.
Right.
It's like, nope, to the garbage it goes, which is like, what?
Yeah,
you would
insane.
rather throw this in the garbage than, so anyways, that could be a whole other topic.
We'll get more into that maybe another time.
We are trying our best to make better choices and to move towards like more sustainable choices as we build this brand. So
Love it.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, I think that wraps it up for our discussion.
Should we talk about what we're wearing?
Let's talk about what we're wearing. My favorite part.
Okay. So Britt is, and you would have seen her like kind of like core pieces in one of the previous episodes, but she is wearing the Camille ribbed top. And like we said last time, it's just like so stretchy, but retains its shape and really like forms to your body but doesn't feel restrictive. It's sleeveless and it is slightly cropped, so however you want, you can wear it with denim or you can pair it with the Ellery bodycon rib skirt. Once again, same material. It's made out of Eco Viscose, made on the 3D knitwear machines, but it is, and I love it in this chocolate brown.
It's so gorgeous.
It's so pretty.
Yeah.
And I know it used to be like a fashion faux pas to mix brown and black, but
Really?
I love it. So it's like, that's another thing. It's like, I would say nowadays anything goes, but can you believe that? It used to be like, when I was a personal shopper, like some of my more mature clients, they were like, no.
Oh, really?
You can't put that together.
And now we're both wearing
I know.
brown and blacks together.
I love it. And then, of course, it's paired with my, like, to this day, favorite piece, the Gigi leather jacket. It was the very first design I ever sketched.
I've been dying to try this on.
It holds such a place in my heart. It's like I envisioned it for years, even before I knew I was going to get my own clothing line. It's named after my first daughter, Gigi, and it's just like, for me, it's like the epitome of the perfect leather jacket.
Oh, it is.
So
I need one.
Yeah, it's
Just the detail, like the stitching. Is this what you call the stitching, right? Yeah. I love all of this, how it fits. I learned a new term today, pebbled.
pebbled leather. Yeah.
Love it.
And just like the shoulders on it, it makes you feel like such like a boss.
I do feel like a boss.
Yeah, and it looks good too, just like draped over your shoulders if you were wearing a dress. It's like the possibilities are endless. Put it with a band tee and like denim or exactly.
Oh.
Dress it up, dress it down. You could even put it with like a sweatsuit.
Yeah.
Like, and it would look totally badass.
And like, what are the kids wearing these days? Sandals and socks?
Yep.
Socks and sandals?
Yeah, totally. Throw on some of the like Birks, the like closed-toed ones, you know, and some chunky socks, and
let's do it.
You're in business. And then I am wearing the, what am I wearing? I had to look down. The Cora cashmere sweater, and it's another one that's been worn far too many times lately, but it just goes with everything. It's so soft, not itchy. It's just like, I don't know. It's such a staple in my wardrobe. And both of these items are available in multiple colorways, which I love, because once you find something you like, you can definitely purchase it in more than one color.
Okay.
It's win-win.
Good to know. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in. And next week you can hear us talking about how Paige is mastering the role of both mother and fashion designer.
Ooh, stay tuned for that.
All right.
All right. Bye, everyone.
See ya.